and they would probably need to be replaced by 2 or 3 people. So why is that? Okay, so Varuna, all encompassing space, was, he, I'll say he, but all encompassing space, could see everything, um, could want to say disseminate or dole out, but you don't even really have to dole out justice if if your consciousness sees everything, because your conscience is within you, and you yourself see everything, and so in that sense you are judging yourself, right? So in that sense, the archetype of Varuna was was seeing all things all at once from everybody's angle, and could judge without misjudging, and in that sense was very was the same to sinners and saints, if you will, right? To kings and to beggars, to whatever. Like, there's no in that sense, Varuna, the spirit, the archetype of Varuna, is impartial, though still passionate, but impartial. Now, one of the siblings, right, who's Prajanya, the rain god, when the rain god, well, not quite the rain god, but Vritra, okay? Vritra seized all of the cosmic water, or apis, and held it. Why? Because he was enamored with her, and she wouldn't give him time of day. But Varuna could see everything from everybody's angle, and so he was like, "Meh, this ain't gonna last. It's incompatible with natural cosmic order. So I'm just going to chill, and he's going to have to let go eventually." But Prajanya, the rain god, the rainmaker, he was getting really impatient because that's the archetype of the rainmaker. He's like, "Come on, come on, come on," And he was also very political. So he, well, and that's a longer story that would get into sort of the Chitra and Twastar archetype, and Vishnu. So I won't go into all that. But in any case, he, quote unquote, freed the cosmic waters, right? And once that happened, Varuna got, quote unquote, relegated to the depths of the ocean, to Varuni. Okay. Now, along that, in parallel with that, or in a different story, as you wish to take it, okay? This Varuna, who's very passionate and all present, he's not too hot on the whole diplomacy thing. And so you always have the two archetypes of Varuna and Mitra, right? Again, this is my not colored one, but the midnight sun, yeah, the midnight sun and the, what am I doing? Yeah, the midnight sun and the redeemer, the fulfiller of the promise, right? And there. Yeah. Written all sorts of things on this. Anyways, so Mitra is the god of diplomacy. He's the fulfiller of the promise. And Mitra is really the one who, who embodies devotion, but not just plain old devotion. It's like empathy, empathic resonance with the other, with the eyebrow. Now, Mitra Varuna, and for this I will really, I won't go off track and talk about Mitra now because I want to make a different video altogether about Anuradha. But Mitra Varuna were always seen as being together all the time. This is sort of why sometimes there's a misrepresentation of Mitra as gay because he's always with his guy friends. No. Mitra is, if you look up the Zoroastrian artwork and you look up, there's a, I don't have my device, but if you look up, just look up any Zoroastrian art and look up the guy who's standing there with the ring, uh, there's a person who's doing this interesting looking handshake and he's holding the ring, okay? And if you know, Shattabhisha is is symbolized by that empty ring, right? What is a ring? What is a ring, right? The wedding ring, it's the promise, right? Mitra is holding that ring. Varuna, and so Mitra Varuna were one. Now, the story goes that Urvashi was the celestial nymph or one of like the I forget what they're called, but anyways, they saw Urvashi. They meaning Mitra Varuna saw Urvashi and were completely enamored with her beauty, with her charm, and everything. And so the one version of the story is they both mated with her, but Mitra, once Urvashi was satisfied, he was satisfied. But Varuna, Shattabhisha, right? 100 joinings. You're done once, you're ready to go again. Sorry for that. Anyways, so Varuna is like, let's go again. And Urvashi's like, no, we're fine. And Mitra here can sense and like is so empathic with Urvashi that he can't tolerate this, one's going, I want more, but he's empathizing with her. So that's when the split happens between Mitra and Varuna. Because you, in a sense, you cannot wholly join. Again, I'm talking archetypes. In an archetypal sense, you cannot wholly join and empathize with the other in your I-thou relationship. And at the same time, you cannot hold that opposite of, or not even opposite, that other side of being where you want to go again and again and again or join with multiple other things. You cannot be both those, so hence the split. Okay, so that's when Mitra and Varuna split. However, and I may have written this down properly because I myself cannot like really comprehend some of these mysteries. In one story, so the children that were born out of this union, this double union, so to speak, with that Urvashi had with both Mitra and Varuna. Some say that the one, because apparently someone's seed spilled on the earth and then was put in a pot, and so there's two versions of the story. In one version of the story, the seed that spilled on the earth, and one would think that that's Varuna, right? Because he wanted to go again and he couldn't, and so maybe it spilled and so formed the earth. That one is the child of Varuna. But then there's other stories that go that Urvashi, so the person who like fully mated with Urvashi that was the child of the earth, or like natural. But then the seed that spilled on the ground, and then was picked up and gathered up and put in a pot, and that was the one born from the pot. And so the one born from the pot is Varuna's child, and the one born from the earth is from the earth, meaning naturally, is Mithra's child. So there are two stories like that, okay? And the reason that even matters is because this kind of feeds into some of the Shattabhisha themes, okay? Such as dual paternity, two fathers, possibly two fathers, maybe. There's also that kind of theme happening with Pushya and with Guru Brihaspati, and in that that sort of thing. But the reason and the way the archetype plays out in that case is a little bit different. It is, in that case, it's more of like like a single mom who has a child, and then the father is like a foster father situation, like Mother Mary, Jesus, and Saint Joseph. Who, like, flat out, that's no controversy about who was it, Saint Joseph's or not Saint Joseph's. So does that, no, it wasn't Saint Joseph's. Saint Joseph was the foster father. Simple. So that is a simple same archetype like Guru Brihaspati. So that's why that's that archetype. Okay. But this archetype is this child, does this child belong to so and so? That sometimes can be a very Shattabhisha type of that can happen. And now when I say, it doesn't mean, like, in personality astrology and predictive astrology, it doesn't mean that is going to happen to you. All of these nakshatras are playing out in our chart in so many different ways. Say you have your, whoever is the significator of your father, okay, in that space. Maybe your father is the one who had that happen to him, or your mother, or somebody else. And a lot of there are astrologers who will say, like, oh, your uncle or your father so and so, and this and that, this happened, whatever. That's not quite my jam. I really enjoy this more from a perspective of the archetypes and what the archetype is. And I keep using the word archetype. What does archetype mean? So, and I really must thank Dr. Richard Tarnas for, like, really helping me clarify that thought process. Dr. Richard Tarnas actually teaches in the PhD program at CIIS in San Francisco. And he has written this great book called Cosmos and Psyche, where he goes into sort of the whole thing, like Plato, or like Greek stuff, Plato, how it's kind of evolved to now. And then I kind of wanted to rewind the tape after I read his book, Cosmos and Psyche. I myself wanted to rewind the tape further from where he had begun the book, which is why I began to delve so much more, deeply into archetypes. But the way he describes archetype, I think, is something is the best way. He says that so beauty, okay. Okay, so you can say, oh, so and so is beautiful. This person is beautiful, or that person is beautiful. But like, what is that? What is beauty? What is that quality of beauty, right? You take that and you abstract not just that so and so is beautiful and that person is beautiful, but what is beauty? And you abstract that out to almost to like, this is beauty, right? To that archetype, that core essence of what is beauty. And that beauty itself, right, becomes this archetype, which is almost like a god. You see, it's because it's the embodiment of what beauty is, not what specific traits make a person beautiful versus not. Okay, then a person is wealthy or is prosperous. In what way? There are so many ways a person can be wealthy, right? So the when you distill out the archetype, right, you get to a main thing where it's like that's the god of wealth, right? Because that being embodies all the traits. And your simple example here would be the Ashtalakshmi, right? Ashtalakshmi, not just one Lakshmi, Lakshmi of what, right? And there are eight, I believe. I'm doing four and saying eight, but uh, there are eight Lakshmis. What is that? There are eight types of wealth, right? And the main one is the Mahalakshmi, the supreme embodiment of all eight. So, Mahakali, right? Yeah. So there are all these, and as I've sort of begun to think about these things, there are like so many. So like Agni, okay, fire, fire energy. There's three. There's three types there too, right? There's the like the hearth fire, right, that you light in the house, that will cook your food for you. There's the celestial fire. There's a sun there shining. There's lightning. There's electricity. There's the thoughts, the neurons sparking in my brain that you can't even see, right? There's that intellectual fire. There's all these sorts of different fires, right? But then there's the one main archetype of fire, and who's that? Surya? I don't know, but yeah. So, or is it consciousness? Who knows? Like, so no, maybe not. Consciousness is a bit more still and present. There again. So now that's the archetype of presence, right? What is presence? Consciousness. Are you conscious? Are you aware? Are you awake? And then there's different levels of that, right? But the archetype underneath. Okay. Anyways, going off on a tangent with that. But that was the I think the third story that I wanted to speak about to complete that story about Shattabhisha. Oh yeah, because the themes that I'm reading from the draft of my book here. But what themes can we learn from this? Lusty, high desire, never satisfied once more, ambiguity in paternity situation, artificial inseminations perhaps, or multiple paternity. Interesting to note that St. Joseph's feast is celebrated. Okay, but he's a foster father. And then, and then I mentioned here too the Jupiter. Jupiter is Jupiter is the sort of the fruit or not. So Guru Brihaspati is Pushya's deity, and I wanted to. I put a note here to examine the Tarabala. I won't go into that right here, but and then let me read a little bit from. The difference caused a split between them. The mating resulted in Urvashi bearing two children, Sage Agastya and Sage Vashishta. One from the earth, one from the pot. There's some controversy about who came from the earth versus the pot, but general consensus is that Mithra's child sprang from the earth because Mithra illumines the path. Okay, and this is a direct quote from someone. Mithra illumines the path we must walk on the earth, and Varuna is the holder of. Okay, that part's not a quote. Varuna is the holder of the matka, the pot of karmas that we must face at night. Okay. And also, I wrote here there's some controversy between, but the general consensus. Actually, after I wrote this, I discovered that there's not general consensus. Even that is highly debated, because, um, but I don't know. I feel like because okay, so Sage Agastya, if you look up what he looks like, he's sort of reclusive looking. He looks more like Kuber, and then he has medicines around him. So I was like, it's kind of Varuna-ish themes. Um, and then the other one, Vashishta. If you look at him, he has a very warlike sort of face. He's riding a tiger. Yeah, he has a very much more of a like war strategy type of a look. Now, if Vashishta is Mithras, then that would explain why that over time Mithra has become more, and again, I'll speak more about this later on. Mithra has sort of gone from being the diplomat to being more of like a war strategist. And if you want to know who, in my head at least, signifies a really good Mithra archetype, I would say James Rickards. I've reviewed several of his books on my channel too. James Rickards. Um, Read his book. Look him up, Google him, whatever, or listen to the reviews that I made of his books. I think, he totally embodies a Mithra archetype, like a proper modern day Mithra archetype, okay, of how that Mithra has evolved into more like of a CIA type. And he is a former CIA guy, so, and that's why I really enjoy reading his books. He does write fiction, by the way. It's all real stuff about financials and what's happening and everything. But anyways, I will go more into that bit in the Mithra video that I will make at some point. I don't know when. But that's about all for now. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.